everyone, I'm Tabitha and today we're talking about my books. You already know that at least once a month I review books that I've been reading for the month. But recently I've been asked why I don't talk about my books and who I recommend them for. So today we're going to break down my 4 available titles in the same or similar way that I do book reviews. It seems only fair, right? The first book of mine we're going to talk about is also the first book I ever had published. So this is Breaking You Selda. It is book 1 in the Kingdom of Franz series. It is a 2018 publication and I published this with Lulu. I am independent, no agent, you know that. So I published it with Lulu. They're a smaller company. It is young adult fantasy and it has 297 pages. Your synopsis. Iselda is preparing to take the throne in her realm when she starts to uncover secrets the council has been hiding to keep up their perfect image. So what might you like about this particular book? Well, first of all, the characters. Iselda, Tin, Jordan, Tudor, Sachet, and even Carson are characters that are all fan favorites. None of them are flat and one-dimensional. They all have flaws. Nobody's perfect, and that makes them incredibly relatable, and fans are just raving about most of them. The second thing you might like about this one is that the world building is definitely there. This is a fantasy that takes place in a world that is not ours. Fran has things that are definitely in common with our world, but then they have major differences. So a lot of that makes the story very intriguing and kind of fun to learn about where they're coming from. The third thing you might like about this book is, although it's not mystery, this book is loaded with mystery and intrigue. So you get to unravel secrets as the book goes on with Iselda, and a lot of those are things that you are dying to know about, and actually some of that mystery carries over right into the second book. In fact, that leads me into what you might not like about this particular book. The ending of this one is not going to be hugely satisfying, answer all your questions, and wrap it up with a bow. This is the first book in a series. In fact, this ending leads directly into the second book, which I'll talk about a little bit in a second. If you aren't the kind of person who loves to have a series or have things continue into the second book, you might not like that about this one. The second thing you might not particularly like about this one is there is a love triangle. If you're not big on light romances where there seems like there's 2 possible suitors, you might not like this book. Iselda definitely has a choice to make. So who should read this one? Fans of books with strong yet completely flawed characters who are learning who they are on a moral level will like this book. The other people who should read this are readers who believe that fantasy books don't have to always have mythical creatures. In this book, which is classified as fantasy because it's in a realm that does not exist, the characters, even the tallest character, is only 3 inches tall. That makes them fantasy and sort of mythical, but there's no unicorns, fairies, or vampires. Ratings. Well, I can't tell you my rating because I'm incredibly biased since I wrote it, but I can tell you that currently on Amazon, this book has 4.7 rating average. And on Goodreads, it has a 4.25 rating average. Now, I'm going out of order of publication for the second one because I think it makes sense to talk about Redeeming Jordan, the second book in the Kingdom of Franz series, even though it was the 3rd book I published. So, Redeeming Jordan. It's the second book in the Kingdom of Franz series. It was published in 2019. I self-published this one with Amazon. It is young adult fantasy, just like its predecessor, and it is 361 pages. Your synopsis. Jordan is realizing that things in Fran are not what he thought they were. Now that his eyes are open, what will he do about the corruption in Fran? So what might you like about this book? Most of the characters that you fell in love with in book 1 are back in book 2. In fact, they're bringing some even more amazing characters in with them this time. Seven, Toby, and even Kurt are all characters who've been mentioned as fan favorites. Jordan specifically gets a relatable arc in this book that fans are loving and raving about. The second thing you might like about this one is the morality questions. Those featured in book 1 for sure, but in Redeeming Jordan, those morality questions really kick into high gear. Basically, the idea of exploring is your personality and your actions completely tied into what kind of person you are. In other words, can you be a good person even if you've done bad things? Can bad things be excused if you had a good intention? That's really explored in this book, and it's kind of fun to play around with. The third thing you might like is, unlike Breaking Iselda, Redeeming Jordan has an incredibly satisfying ending. I don't want to spoil anything, but even though there are future books in this series, you can trust in the fact that this book has a satisfying ending. So what might you not like? This one I don't know if you'd like or not. I have no idea if this book stands up on its own. A lot of readers have told me that they think that it will, but to be totally honest, the readers who have told me they think that it will are also readers who read Breaking You Selda. So that means if you didn't read Breaking You Selda, I don't know if you'd feel like you were missing out on the world building. I need somebody to read it for me and tell me that. You may feel a little lost if you read this one on its own. The second thing I should tell you that you might not like about it is that, this is also kind of a trigger warning, Iselda battles with a form of depression in this book. It's been heavily researched, and I don't want to give it any spoilers, but I do want to say that I could see this being a problem for some people. So, who should read this one? Readers who love a good morality question. If you love to explore the idea of what truly makes a person bad, or if bad things can be excused, you're going to love this book. The other people who I think are going to love this book are obviously fans who love the first one and who love the characters specifically in the first one. And the third person I'm going to recommend this for is any fantasy readers who just love to fall in love with characters. If you love falling in love with characters, you know who I'm talking about, you're going to love Redeeming Jordan and the characters in there. So rating, currently this book has an average rating, okay, wait, hold that thought. This is incredibly biased. This book, I'm not kidding you, has an average rating of 5 stars on Goodreads and 5 stars on Amazon, which seems incredibly biased because it doesn't have a lot of reviews. All right, my second published book and the third book we're going to talk about today is 30 Days Without Wings. This is a 2018 publication. I self-published this one. It is a young adult fantasy book, and it is 162 pages, nice and short. Your synopsis. Elise is a fairy who's experienced terrible heartache and just needs a change. She will risk everything for one chance at her dream. What might you like about this story? Well, the first one, and I literally cheered and clapped out loud when a reader noticed this, is it has an atypical storyline. So one reviewer said, you think you know where this one is going, and then you're completely wrong in a wonderful way. And I really love that because that's exactly what I love about this story is that when you first read it, knowing that it's a young adult fantasy, you think the story is one-dimensional and it turns out to have a lot more under the surface. The second thing you might like about this one is it has some pretty solid messages about what's really important in life. Without spoiling anything, let's just say that fans said that this message is really highlighted and driven home in Todd's lyrics. Todd happens to be a musician, and in his lyrics that he writes. The third thing you might like about this one is honestly it's a quick read and it's really worth the time and the message. So not a lot of reading to get a big message out of it. In fact, a lot of fans have told me that this is a good one for delving into and reading with your young preteen, your teen or young teen. Lisa's going through a point in her life where she's seriously questioning who she is and her value to society. And that's important because a lot of teenagers are going through the exact same thing. So it can be a fun one to sort of read and discuss with teens if you're willing to have those big discussions. What you might not like about this one is actually one of those same things. So this is a young adult book, but it has middle grade leanings, but have to call it young adult because there's definitely some language. So not a lot, but a few. And actually it comes across as if we have teenagers who are almost trying the words for the first time, which if you've ever worked with teens or if you have teens, you know that's pretty realistic. Some of them like to try out that adult language for the first time. If you hate cussing in your YA and you don't feel like cuss words belong in young adult, that's going to bother you because it does appear there a few times. The other thing I will say I have heard and you might not like about this one is you might not be a fan of the ending. In my opinion, it has a good ending. It has exactly the ending I wanted it to have, and there's definitely a reason I stopped this story when I did. But fans have said they completely fell in love with this world and they want more of it. So a lot of fans go to my blog a lot, or if I'm in person and they meet me, I hear this probably the most. They want more of the 30 Days Without Wings world, and I've repeatedly said this is a standalone story. So if you're not ready to fall in love with a book knowing that there's only one book in that world, you might join them in complaining at me about this one. Who should read it? If you like coming-of-age stories, but you're looking for a fantasy twist on it, I think you'd love 30 Days Without Wings. If you, in general, just love all things fairy and you're interested in all things fairy, I think you're going to love this one. Also, music fans or musicians might actually like this one, too. Todd is a musician. I've known quite a few. So he's based on some real musicians that I've known or have worked with, and I think you'll like that. He's pretty cool, and he has some of those characteristics that you'll recognize. Ratings. Currently, this one has an average rating of 4.7 on Amazon. and 4.56 on Goodreads. All right, and finally, my newest book. This is Projection. This was a 2019 publication. It just came out in June. It was published by Phoenix Manifest Publishing, and it is my only science fiction title. So this is young adult science fiction, 176 pages. Again, a nice short read. Your synopsis. Emma lives in a world where technology interacts with your nervous system, but everything falls apart when her most embarrassing memories start to appear on any device she's near. Why is this happening, and who can Emma trust? What you might like about this one. For sure, the number one thing that gets praised about Projection is the premise in general. Over and over and over again, I've heard that the premise is awesome. People are completely intrigued by the idea of this technology and the issues that Emma is having with it. The second thing you might like about this one is kind of related. The technology. I worked with a tech specialist to ensure that the technology in this book is just outside of what is possible right now. In fact, since writing this book, before it got published, technological advances have come even further and closer in the direction of this book, which just tells me we were on the right track, which is what you want in technological sci-fi. It's just really an aspect people love and keep raving about if they love this book. The third thing you might like is that, and I would never have said this myself, but almost every reviewer has said they love that this book is loaded with teenagers acting like teenagers. Emma, Bella, and Tyler are teenagers in this book. They are teenagers all through it, and they truly act like those of them that I have worked with, known, and been like. So I would say that that's something people are loving, that teenagers acting like teenagers. What you might not like about this one. I'm just going to say it, and then I can say, look, see, I said it too. You might not like the ending. This has the ending I wanted, and there is a purpose behind why I wrote this ending like I did. I don't want to tell you why right now because I have a feeling this is going to come up in the Twitter discussion at the end of the month, and I may be doing a reaction video to that, so I have a feeling it'll come up later. But I just want to say the ending was written like this on purpose. It's a symbolism in itself, but I understand that some people think it was rushed and aren't big fans of that. So if you like to have all the answers at the end of your books, you may not like this ending. Second thing I've heard from people that they don't particularly like is the villain. Not everyone gets this villain. I don't want to spoil anything, but I just want to say that at the end of the day, this villain was not a bad person to their core. Actually, most people, most readers would say, in general, this villain was a good person who just went too far on the quest for what they were searching for. And that makes them not everyone's favorite villain and makes them controversial. All right, so who should read this one? I would say fans who are interested in the technology discussion. If you're interested in the discussion of if we can take technology to a certain level, should we? You'll like this if you like that question. Again, readers who like morality questions are going to like this one. I tend to do that a lot, so you're going to have morality questions in this book as well. I also want to mention that this book is the Mabby's Book Club selection for September over on Twitter. So if you've read this one or if you're reading it right now, on September 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, pop over to Twitter, look for the handle Mabby's Book Club, and follow along in the discussion. I'll be watching and checking it out and seeing what's there, and other readers would love to talk about it with you. All right, the rating for this one, currently this one has an average rating on Amazon of 4.1 and on Goodreads of 4.0. Okay, that's it for me and talking about my book. Don't forget to subscribe to my videos. Keep plotting the path to your dreams, and I will see you in 1 week